This is a breaking news alert. A flying city has descended from the sky to attack New York City with an army of George Washington robots. Initial reports are that this city is called Columbia. They're led by white supremacists that still enslave black people, and they're basically worshippers of a religious cult led by Father Comstock. The only hope to save America from the evil city of Columbia is you, Booker DeWitt, and a young girl named Elizabeth who loves reading in her library and dancing at sunset. My name is Adam, and this is Light and Game Design. I'm here to analyze video game design from my unique perspective as a professional lighting designer. I'm hoping that this can inspire you on your own game design journey. So please subscribe, as I'll be releasing new videos often, and there are many spoilers ahead. Just like the OG Bioshock, Infinite begins its gameplay at a hidden lighthouse. The dictionary defines a lighthouse as a tower or other structure that contains a beacon light to warn or guide ships at sea. While we take shelter from the cold gray rain, warm lighting welcomes us inside, but it's quickly contrasted by a dead body and a literal warning on his chest in the lighthouse. But thankfully, we didn't land on this lighthouse with these two nut jobs. Back in Bioshock Infinite, it doesn't feel like the game developers designed this moment. It feels much more realistic and believable, like this moment was designed by the actual characters within the game who are holding Booker DeWitt ransom. They placed the body upright in this bright light just to intimidate Booker DeWitt. You can feel it in the subtle details, like this cigarette still burning. That reveals that the body was placed here just minutes ago, and like we had just missed the murderers. This is why the Bioshock trilogy's storytelling is so strong just in their visual design. Every environment we discover, every lighting choice within those environments, feels like the characters in the game within the world created it, and not the video game designers. And today, it's my goal to prove to you that Father Comstock, the cult leader of Columbia, is the ultimate lighting artist. At the top of the lighthouse, we trigger a secret code, and the entire sky starts to flash red, which is dramatic and almost supernatural. Then we're welcomed right into Sweeney Todd's barber chair, which launches us into the sky like a rocket. Bioshock Infinite is really effective because it transforms lighting quickly. Right now it's cloudy, gray, with really terrifying lightning that allows us only to see as far as our own reflection, making us feel claustrophobic, trapped. But then you just break through the clouds and it's an unexpected, beautiful, sunny, blue sky. That fast lighting shift is supposed to make you feel like you're arriving somewhere safe, wonderful, and amazing. But only 30 seconds later, we're back into the darkness, just so Bioshock Infinite can reset our eyes for this dramatic lighting reveal through stained glass. Someone within this city designed this moment so that you could feel like you're stepping foot into the promised land. And I'm pretty sure the guy who designed this moment is this guy, Father Comstock. A lot of times in video games, I feel like the design is really strong, but it feels like the game designers did it. They painted a beautiful picture. But here it really feels like, as Comstock demands that you get baptized before entering his city, that you're walking through an experience that Comstock has designed. With lighting that is this religious feeling, Comstock wants you to believe that he's divine, but he's not really a god. He's just an ass. Once baptized, the lighting immediately shifts to a heavenly blue sky with God ray sunlight. Now that lighting change literally makes you feel like you've just died and actually stepped into heaven. But it's just a bright ray of sunlight. There's no way that Father Comstock could have controlled the sunlight, right? So the sunlight must just be carefully crafted by the game designers, right? But really, this is a floating city that can float in any direction. And if Father Comstock can design a floating city, he would orient it so you always experience the strong backlighting just after your baptism. This lighting design choice feels like Comstock made it. Just like the candles before, he's trying to manipulate you into believing Columbia is a literal heaven or religious experience. But I mean, come on, there's a hot dog stand that welcomes you on your first step into the city, and I freaking love hot dogs. Heaven for me would be a flying city with hot dogs. Real quick side note, notice how the lighting falling through the shadows of leaves here on them? The shadows are actually bobbing up and down subtly, which is an awesome technical trick they're using all over the place to make it feel like you're in a floating city that's bobbing in the clouds. But every time you turn the corner as you walk around Columbia, another picturesque ray of backlighting comes down the street, just making this feel perfect. In my mind, Father Comstock has walked this experience of a new citizen arriving into the city, and he carefully planned each moment to impress new citizens of Columbia. Here's each lighting shot for the first 10 minutes of the game, just so you can see how Comstock progresses the lighting from a scary stormy sea to religious ascension and then stepping foot into this perfect heavenly city. But it's a beautiful floating Americana city with giant parade floats of George Washington and Ben Franklin. I mean, just look at the God rays of light descending through that giant Columbia Tower. It's just incredible. Everything seems perfect and amazing here in Columbia, and the lighting is what makes this place seem like a perfect floating theme park fair in the sky. You see, this raffle, you're going to win the chance to get a baseball that you'll violently throw at an interracial couple. That flat monkey scenery is absolutely horrific to me. This is when you realize that the cult of Columbia is an alternate America that still embraced racism and white supremacy. You're literally hanging out in a racist theme park. The first stop at the racist theme park in the sky is a building called the Order of the Ravens, a secret society that worships John Wilkes Booth while literally demonizing Abraham Lincoln. How's that for some alternate reality? Their lighting choices here accentuate and celebrate John Wilkes Booth. Like, if I pause the game while the lighting flickers out, we have creepy candles with the rotting food on the tables, but John Wilkes Booth is still the brightest thing in the room. And also notice that since they're up to secret cult stuff, the characters decided to close every window blind because no one should see what you're up to in a secret cult. But that's a great opportunity for just one blind to be accidentally left up, just a few inches, making this creepy place even creepier as the birds feasting on rotten flesh are backlit. And since there's only one source of light coming into this room, notice that the shadows are pitch black. That's when we stumble onto the cult in action. Look at this amazing lighting of the racist George Washington mural. The light is so bright that it's streaming as backlight onto all of the cult followers. That strong gesture of light feels like Father Comstock designed it to give the cult a religious, powerful experience. In this moment, all of the laborers are praying to Comstock, where the light emanates from his brainwashing film. It's a lighting design choice I just learned today is so effective. That light is literally carrying the message meant to brainwash the subjects. I did a little research, and we've seen this lighting choice done many times before. Another example is the famous 1984 Apple computer commercial, showing how everyone is being brainwashed by boring business computers. Just look how the light is all over their faces. Like here in Clockwork Orange, brainwashing this guy with a movie, all the light pouring onto his face. But the scientists in the back of the room that are doing the brainwashing have the manipulative light coming from behind them, and that manipulative light never lands on their faces. Or even another video game like Far Cry 5, where the cold light of these wolf projections brainwashes you to be a violent murderer. In Bioshock Infinite, we see this manipulative lighting from brainwashing projectors over and over. Even back at the John Wilkes Booth haunted house, any room with a brainwashing projector is really dark, so the projector light is the brightest thing you see, and your wandering eye just wants to focus in on the propaganda. But here we spot a sliver of light, which pulls our attention to a secret room behind the bookshelf. Hidden behind the bookshelf is the brutal reality of racist imprisonment and torture. This lighting is cold, sad, and desolate. But this moment is different than all of the perfect lighting design that Comstock has shown us so far in the game. This is the raw lighting that Comstock doesn't control and doesn't want you to see. Bioshock Infinite does reveal the violent atrocities in unexpected shock moments like this.
The city with eyes. We worship the coffin because it symbolizes.
Let's rewind because there's a lot to learn in this short 5-second moment of a man being ripped to shreds. 1. Bright firelight uplights this man, pulls our visual attention fast. 2. Bioshock is a first-person game, which makes perfect lighting tricky because a player can look any direction at any time. So in this 5-second moment, the game hijacks your camera and forces you to look at the action, meaning the developers have complete control that you'll see the composition and lighting that they want you to see. 3. Shadows are placed here so they can double the scale of the animation of this character being ripped apart. Without that strong shadow of the man and the birds, I think this animation would look fake, like a 2000s video game. But now the larger scale makes this action feel like you just watched someone die. Another shock moment, we see a nun praying to Comstock at the helm of a ship. Beautiful candles uplight her, which calls back to that amazing baptism scene, and she feels like a non-threat cult follower. Then you'll have your first moment face-to-face with Comstock, whose big beautiful speech is in the big beautiful blue sky with his big beautiful fireworks, just so you can admire his authority and his power. But the game designers also locked our camera in this direction, focused on Comstock. Players are not allowed to see the lighting shift that's happening behind them. So when you finally can turn around, the nun tries to suicide firebomb you. What an unbelievable choreographed moment. It doesn't feel like it's choreographed by the game designers though. It felt like Comstock was pulling our attention while setting up to murder you. And I promise you, we'd arrive at an actual racist theme park. The swinging chandelier is cool, but really helps a player realize they have a quick game design choice. Left or right, Boxer Rebellion or Wounded Knee, or for those of you hardcore Bioshock Infinite conspiracy theorists, heads or tails. Both the Boxer Rebellion and Wounded Knee are horrible moments in human history where people are slaughtered for either their religious beliefs or their race being Native Americans. So Comstock celebrates these moments and he nails the lighting of a cheesy theme park attraction. They're filled with bad red fire lighting, obnoxious spotlights that pop on flat cutouts of stereotyped cartoon Indians, and even this ridiculous strobe light pattern feels like a cheesy amusement park. But why is Comstock using racist cartoons and silly lighting? Why are we in a fucked up Chuck E. Cheese? It's because Comstock designed this to be a fun place, especially for kids. This lighting and scenery is just a tool that Comstock uses to teach and control the youth of his city. For example, here he wants the children to learn and believe that the floating city of Columbia is the only thing that can save the Chinese savages in the quote, Sodom below. Comstock also designed an attraction to celebrate his wife, the deceased First Lady who gave birth to the miracle child. Comstock's lighting here feels like a dramatic religious experience. The painted murals are pouring light onto these statues angelically from the heavens. The light feels like a blessing from God. Comstock portrays his wife as an angel here in a scene about how she got killed by an alleged anarchist. Comstock set up this shot of the First Lady's white statue praying into a ray of God light. The First Lady feels innocent looking into that warm light. But there's a black statue that has a small slash of light on it, so you won't miss that a black person is getting ready to allegedly murder the white First Lady. That sliver of light is also shaped in such a way that you believe the murderer is hiding in the shadows before assassinating Comstock's wife. Here, Comstock placed him in front of a large moon, so he looks like a heroic archangel. But the murdering anarchists are running into the glow of a red lava pit, a representation of hell. But Comstock doesn't have any of that red light on his own statue. So Comstock's designed the lighting so that he's the only pure white light in the room. And Father Comstock alone is the only one who can save you because he's the only one who can send evil black people back to the hell and red fire. Again, Comstock is using lighting as propaganda here to train his own citizens and the kids of his city to think that Comstock is the only hero and that the black anarchists are the enemy. Some of my favorite propaganda moments are these robot George Washingtons. Like a sudden spotlight fades up on this robot George Washington and he spews some propaganda. But you can see how Comstock crafted the light to make Washington the center of our focus, and that light is warm and confident. Just behind George Washington is an even larger statue of Comstock in the exact same confident, warm lighting. Comstock is using the light and scale to make himself greater than the founding father, George Washington. But since this is a theme park, we do have to exit through the gift shop. Here in the gift shop, it's ominously dark, and each Comstock robot flashes alive with a glorious warm light at separate moments. The lighting pulls a really cool game design trick. It makes the players move erratically and defensively in different directions before the actual boss engages you. Robot George escapes his zoo cage with a giant chain machine gun. But you've got to notice how Comstock continues to light Robot Washington with this spotlight that follows him around the room. This lighting is all just a big show for the kids at their birthday parties. And this is definitely a f***ed up Chuck E. Cheese. I'm about to spoil the endgame of Bioshock, so if you're not looking for major spoilers, know that this is only the first part of a 2-part video on Bioshock Infinite. In the second part, we're going to explore Comstock's daughter Elizabeth, who actually has real godlike powers to rip open portals to different dimensions and time frames. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss this video next week, and if you're looking for the link, it's in the description below. So back to the end of Comstock. Elizabeth and I meet Comstock face to face. He's waiting for us in this beautiful stained glass lighting. There's a nice shadow of Elizabeth approaching her father, and it just seems like this man, in this lighting, could do no harm and is the savior of the people. And just an argument later, Booker DeWitt kills Comstock violently, which leaves us with this beautiful lighting to contrast Father Comstock's dead body laying on the altar. Anytime you juxtapose beautiful lighting with horrific violence, it's really a recipe for emotional power. But I promised you I would prove it, that Comstock is a great lighting designer. It's only after Comstock is dead at the end of the game that we finally get a chance to peek behind the curtain. Behind the dead fascist, behind his stained glass art, are just a couple of really well-placed giant spotlights. Father Comstock, the dictator of Colombia, the protector of racial purity, was a con man who just knew how to put on a show and use lighting to control people. So this is where I'm going to get really serious, step out of the video game world, and share some actual research that I've learned about lighting and dictators. 1934, Hitler himself demanded every searchlight in the Nazi Luftwaffe for a rally that he was creating called the Cathedral of Light. The Nazi military actually told Hitler, no, you can't take the searchlights, we need them for the war. But Hitler overruled them and actually said, in quote, "If we use the lights in such large numbers for a thing like this, other countries will think we're swimming in searchlights." If you see how big this lighting gesture is here, it makes a tiny man look like a god from far away. I found this quote on Wikipedia from a professor of architecture history in Dublin. She said, "The single most dramatic moment of the Nazi Party rallies was not a military parade or a political speech, but the Cathedral of Light." Most gods in history have been associated with light because humans know that the sun, light, is what gives us life. I'm convinced that's a fundamental reason that so many dictators try to use light as a spectacle to show themselves as a godlike figure. And it's in this research for Bioshock Infinite that I found these images of a Nazi rally in New York City, Madison Square Garden, 1939. The Nazis called this the Pro-American Rally. The German and American Nazis put on a huge show in Madison Square Garden where I watched basketball, hockey, and concerts. They had a giant George Washington as their backdrop and swastikas on each side of him. Notice here that both George Washington and the Nazis speaking are lit to be the brightest things in the stadium. This is a real photo, and you can see how the light is emanating from the stage. The light is used as a power that is evil and can get a hold over these people. Looking at this dark moment in American history, I now realize Bioshock Infinite is not a story about an alternate racist history that could never actually happen in America. Bioshock Infinite's main theme is that it's already happened in history here in America, and that we have to keep it from ever happening again.
Will the circle be unbroken by and by, by and by? Is a better home awaiting in the sky, in the sky?